How does God respond to our insecurities? Well, sometimes he'll have to wrestle it out of you. At least that's what he did with Jacob. God and Jacob have an infamous wrestling match, one-on-one. And after that wrestling match, God changes his name from Jacob to Israel, making Jacob the fatherhead of the Israelite tribe. So why was the wrestling match necessary? You see, Jacob had his own insecurity. He had an inferiority complex. The inferiority complex is essentially when one setback or one perceived weakness in you now becomes how you define yourself. Now you believe you're destined to fail. No one wants to support you. You'll always be the underdog. This defensive thinking drives some harsh, overcompensating actions, and that's what happens with Jacob. You see, Jacob was born second. He was the twin that missed the birthright and the blessing by mere seconds. He's described as mild and more of an indoorsy guy, a smooth talker, whereas his brother Esau is described as rugged and hairy and a good hunter. And their own father Isaac starts to show preferential treatment to Esau. It says he loved Esau more than he loved Jacob, and Jacob knew that. And this is the root of Jacob's own inferiority complex. You see, because his father, the person that he goes to for a sense of identity and purpose, because he treated Jacob as the lesser between the two, Jacob started to believe in this false sense of inferiority. And in his defensive brokenness, he started to think, okay, the way I can become the superior one is if I take it for myself. And that's exactly what he does. See, he dresses up like Esau, he cooks like Esau to trick his blind father into giving him the blessing. See how insecurities will have you pretending to be someone you're not. What Jacob missed was that God already intended for him to be the leader. He didn't have to take it, he didn't have to force it, and he didn't have to deceive his own father to do that. And so after Jacob does this and he's now on the run because Esau wants to kill him, instead of God punishing him, God actually sees his brokenness. He sees that he acted from a sense of insecurity, and God reaffirms him. He gives him what Jacob was looking for. You see, God meets him in a dream, and God opens up the entire spiritual realm. It's known as Jacob's ladder. You now have angels ascending and descending, and God says to Jacob, I will bless you. I will be with you no matter what. This whole spiritual realm is working in support of you. We've got you. Jacob still couldn't fully trust it because he was still broken. Because he felt like the unchosen one, he couldn't fathom why God would choose him. And so Jacob effectively says, we'll see. If you do these things to me, if you protect me, if you provide for me, then you will be my God. Insecurities are so strong, they can even have you doubting God's own promise to you. So what happens from here? Well, unfortunately, it gets worse. Jacob's ideas that in order to get what he wants, he has to take it, that no one wants to give to him freely, were further confirmed when he goes to live with his uncle Laban. Now, Laban is the deceiver of deceivers. If you thought Jacob was bad, meet Laban. Laban treats his daughters like property, and he gets Jacob, who falls madly in love with Rachel, to work for him for 7 years to earn Rachel. But instead of giving him Rachel, he gives him Leah, the oldest daughter, and makes Jacob have to work another 7 years to get Rachel. Laban even tries to block him from leaving. It's exhausting, but it further confirms to Jacob that if I want something, I'm going to have to take it. Before bringing him into his next season, God says this has to go. And so they wrestle. Imagine it, God Almighty, all-powerful, the Creator, wrestling with this simple, not-so-strong man called Jacob all night. Doesn't make any sense, but it does if you remember that God is a father. And what fathers tend to do with their sons is they will play wrestle with them, play fighting, just so they can say to their sons, wow, you are so strong. And it turns out that very childlike need is exactly what Jacob needed to hear. Jacob probably grew up hearing his dad say, wow, Esau, you're such a strong hunter, you're such a strong man. And Jacob never got that. But in this fight with God, in this wrestle with God, where God feigns, he pretends like Jacob is a match for him, Jacob finally gets to feel like a strong man. Jacob needs this. You see, when inferiority complex grows over years and years, it becomes desperate. That's why Jacob is clinging to God. He's saying, I won't let you go until you bless me. It's crazy because we know that God already blessed him before he went into this land. Sometimes you can't see the blessing until you've broken off that yoke of inferiority, that yoke of insecurity. And that's what happens with Jacob. And so when that's broken and he feels like he's now a worthy man, God changes his identity. He renames him from Jacob, which means heel grabber, terrible name, to Israel, he who contends with God. A name that is carried on for generations and centuries as the royal priesthood to represent God. God also leaves him with a little reminder. You see, God taps his hip and it dislocates his hip. From now on, Jacob has to walk with a limp. It's a reminder that you, Jacob, you, Israel, will need to lean on me, God. You are dependent. So we all have insecurities, but maybe we can learn from Jacob and try identify the roots. What started this? Also start to recognize when you start overcompensating and allow yourself to step in to what God is calling you to be. Or get ready to wrestle.